Good evening. It is 6 o'clock on the 14th of September in the fair city of Beavercreek, and I am calling to order the September meeting of the Beavercreek Board of Zoning Appeals. Ms. Gillall, can we have the roll call, please?
Mr. Botla?
Here.
Mr. Clunin?
Here.
Mr. Essman and Mr. Rust are both absent. Mr. Archibald?
Here. Okay. I will entertain a motion to excuse Mr. Rust and
Essman.
Mr. Essman. Don't mess with the tape.
I'll move for that.
Okay, we have a motion to excuse our two missing members. Second?
I move them, second.
Okay, by voice vote, all in favor? Aye. Hearing no opposition, so passed are Mr. Essman and Mr. Rust are hereby excused. Next, the agenda. Do we have any additions or subtractions to the agenda? Anything different to add? Nope. Okay, so I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda as written.
I move the motion to approve.
We have a motion,
Second.
okay, and a second, and by voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, the agenda has been approved. We have one case for tonight. Okay, minutes of the last meeting. I'm the only one that was at the last meeting, so do I just approve them by myself? Yep, okay, so approved. I've reviewed them and they are so approved. Okay. All right, we have a public hearing, V 22-3, the Marist Province of the United States doing business as Mount St. John at 4435 East Patterson Road. Ms. Gillall, you're on.
This is case number V22-3 on an application filed by Mount St. John, 4435 East Patterson Road, Beavercreek, Ohio, 45430. Requesting a variance from Chapter 158.102 D1 of the City of Beavercreek Zoning Code, requesting permission to locate ground-mounted solar panels in the front yard along County Line Road in an A1 district. The property is located on the northeast corner of County Line Road and Shakertown Road, further described as Book 3, Page 1, Parcel 3 on the Greene County Property Tax Atlas.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, first order of business is the applicant, right? Oh, yes, the applicant. So, come on up and read the card that's up on the upper part of the podium there, and tell us why you're here.
All right. I, Jeff Bohr, affirm that the testimony that I am about to give before the Board of Zoning Appeals of the City of Beavercreek is the whole truth to the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
And I am Daniel Brown, counsel for the applicant, and I may
Yeah, speak into the microphone.
and I
please.
may not need to give any testimony.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So you want just a quick why we want to do this type of a thing?
Yeah. Tell us what's going on.
All right, so Mount St. John's a 160-acre campus, hopefully, maybe you know, right on the edge of Montgomery County, Greene County line. We are very much into care for the earth. It's part of a lot of what we do. There's Marianist Environmental Education Center is out there, MEEC, a lot of people know of that. So one of our activities is caring for the earth, educating people on caring for the earth and things like that. We're very much into in that way by saving energy. We've done a lot of energy efficiency upgrades over the years that I've been there. I'm director of facilities for the campus, by the way, just as a point of reference. We've done a lot that we can, and now it's logically time to move on to trying to reduce our carbon footprint by installing solar panels. The Marianist Province, which is located in St. Louis, Missouri, as the province for the United States, is who's over the Mount St. John property, is supporting putting in solar panels so that we can be net zero. That amounts to just a little more than 850 kilowatt system, which is fairly large, but that will create us on an annual basis to be net zero. So in doing, following our energy efficiency and caring for the earth stance that we purport. The issue at hand is that if you've been to Mount St. John, our campus is largely, there's a total of 8 buildings on the whole campus. On our parcel that is in question, there's 5. Those buildings are all more kind of central, we call it the core of our campus, so that most of our land that would be, or really all of our land that would be available for producing, holding a lot of solar panels, is on the prairie or meadows that are on the border County Line Road, Shakertown Road. That is over 1,200 feet of frontage before we get to our nearest buildings. As we understand it, Beavercreek zoning says that we're not allowed to put solar panels in our front yards. Given our situation, our front yard is probably not what most people consider a front yard in a house. We've got more front yard than most people have in their entire property. So we are seeking a variance with that front yard zoning rule so that we can put the solar panels in our quote front yard, but still with as much space, and there are maps in your documents that you see where the solar panels are versus all the meadow space. And also there are photos delineating and showing how that it is really hidden from the roads and the neighbors around and things like that as well, which I think is part of the reason for that zoning code to try to, try to make it so that people are not impacted by that. Solar panels do not give off any fumes, noises, chemicals, or anything like that, so the impact on the surrounding community is really not going to be impacted, but the result will be that we would be able to then produce our own energy and be net zero on an annual basis. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, and I'm sure we will have questions, and we'll call you back up.
Okay.
Sir Funk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Board. Today we do have BZA case V22-3, and as it's been discussed, it pertains to the allowance of ground-mounted solar panels in the required in the front yard. The code 158-102D says that basically ground-mounted solar panels shall be basically the panels, the collectors, all that need to be located in the side and rear yard only. And so the applicant is requesting a variance to allow those to be located in the front yard. Here's a map of basically the applicant's parcels. I think that includes all of them. There's 5. And this kind of L-shaped one here is the parcel that they're looking to put the ground-mounted solar panels. And this, you can see here the solar array is going to be right here. It's going to be basically over 400 feet off the road from each direction, so it's going to sit quite a bit off the road. This next slide is basically our new drive-by video. So it's going to go from basically right in this area here to their entrance, which I think is right in here somewhere. Yeah, right here is their entrance. So this video you're about to see is going to be basically driving that right there. So in this video, basically you can imagine the solar panels being basically behind those trees. So the video is about a minute long. So again, the solar panels would be back up and behind these trees. And this is County Line turning onto Shakertown Road. And you can imagine basically the solar panels being kind of up in this area somewhere behind the trees. And basically they're coming up to the entrance from Shakertown. So basically the applicant's lot is it's in an agricultural zoning district. Our code does prohibit the ground-mounted solar panels in a front yard. So when looking at the applicant's request, we took it through basically the 8 criteria. And when we're looking at the applicant's location, basically this green area here on the map is basically an existing conservation easement. So the solar panels would not be allowed in that area. And that conservation area actually is just for this parcel is what's depicted, but it actually extends on up into these other parcels as well. And then this front yard, I showed it for this one parcel that we're addressing today, but it actually would, extend up like this. So the applicant's location for the solar panels, a permitted location for these solar panels would be basically right smack in the middle of their core campus, where there's parking lots and walking paths and all that kind of stuff. So, you basically got, this right here, it's just not feasible to be, or even probably realistically able to be located in that area. So, one of our conditions is, basically, is there something unique about the lot that's creating a practical difficulty? And in staff's opinion, there is. The fact that these buildings are located so far back off the road, had those buildings been located up here along the road and along the frontage, there have been plenty of rear yard space to locate that solar array. The fact that the buildings are set so far back, the terrain, if you've driven by there, I'm sure we all have driven by, it's kind of diverse terrain, kind of hilly. There's just not a lot of location for that solar array, somewhere on the parcel. Staff feels like, we talked to them about location. One of the proposed locations was right here on Shakertown. And we were not in favor of that just because of the proximity to residential houses. We talked to them about possible, roof-mounted alternatives, other alternatives. There really wasn't a very feasible alternative to the ground-mounted solar array. So, and working with the applicant, we determined that this area up here would probably be the most feasible location, given the fact that it's flatter, it's, basically screened from the roadway. All that would, lend it to be the best location for that solar array. We feel like, it does meet the general intent, the spirit intent of the code, because we don't, necessarily, want big, huge solar arrays, negatively impacting surrounding properties. And the fact that it's so far off the road, that it is screened from, the road and pretty much all the other properties around it, we feel like it generally meets the intent and spirit of the code. Basically, we don't feel that it will infringe on the quiet enjoyment of surrounding properties. We don't see any adverse impacts on any of the surrounding properties from the solar panels. So basically, in staff's opinion, in our opinion, it meets all 8 criteria of a variance. So if you guys have any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure we will. Okay, since this is a public hearing, I will open up the floor for anyone who wants to come and speak about this case. Sir. Come on up to the podium, please, and read the card and, state your name and please speak into the microphone.
Yes, my name is Nick Scarfo. I'm one of the residents.
There's a card right there if you can read the card.
I don't have my reading glasses.
Okay, say your name again and where you live.
Nicholas Scarfo. I lived in Country View Drive across the street from the premise.
Okay, all right, thank you. Go ahead.
The only question I have, so the solar panel will be facing Research Avenue. Do I get that correctly?
I believe, well, I'm not sure that they really face anywhere. They're relative.
They hide it behind, but they be facing that way, not Shaker, because you just mentioned that will get the residential aspect, will be no good. So, but it will be facing Research. And from the corner, do I understand correctly, it will be about 500 feet going that direction. And then there will be a wall of trees. It sounds good, it looks very good. The only question I have is, the location looks good, it won't bother the vision, the image. The trees in front of the panels, are there trees that all year round is green?
They are required to, they are required to have screening and things, so.
What I'm saying is the trees that is front of the panels, that it doesn't show the panel from the street, those trees, are they all year round green?
So most of the trees that you see are deciduous, so that their leaves would fall off. However, most of that field that you see around there and that vegetation are like grasses and such like that. And they, through the winter, stay up, and they are literally 6 feet tall grasses by the end of the summertime and such like that. So while it will not be as tall as the trees, all of the grasses and things like that that are in that meadow pretty much maintain that way through the winter time, like if you see the tall grasses, prairie grasses and such like that. So the panels, I think, cannot be more than 8 feet, I think is the zoning. So they'll be somewhere close to 8 feet. I don't know. I know that the grasses can be at least, up to 6 feet, but I don't know about all 8.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mike?
And I will add that the solar panels run east and west. I think the rows run east and west, right?
Rows run east-west.
The rows run east and west, and they face the south. And, any kind of screening requirement would not prohibit, like if you put a 6-foot privacy fence around it, it's only going to be 6 feet, so.
Right, so,
It would have
so you said there's going to be additional screening?
If necessary, yeah, there would be additional screening.
Okay. So, did that answer your question, and are you done with your presentation?
Yes, that answered my question. Also, the screen, what kind of screen for additional screen, what do you mean? Made of what? Screen, you say?
If there's any they're going to have the majority of the screening is going to be natural vegetation that's
Okay.
existing,
Okay, and it would be some kind of evergreen type screening, probably?
possibly, yeah.
Anything to add to that?
We will do whatever, the zoning department requires us to do. We do feel, though, that, the natural screening and such that in there is pretty adequate, but again, whatever zoning needs us to do for, if we need additional.
Okay, I think the gentleman has a good point, right? If the deciduous trees, right, they're going to lose their leaves. If the panels are going to be more visible from,
Yeah, and I guess I'm not sure what the screening requirement is, if there's a certain height. I think the only requirement is that there be screening, not a certain height, if I'm correct.
Right.
So,
right, but we can put a condition on that, right? Yeah, it wouldn't be something man-made, it would be something, natural, okay? So we'll talk about that when we get to the board discussion. Any other input from the public? Ms. Gillall, do we have any written input?
Yes. We received 2 emails. The first one was just a packet of information for the board to review regarding solar panels from Mary Lucius. And then we also had talked with Robert Daniels from 4433 Shakertown Road that was in support of the solar project.
Okay. Is Ms. Lucius here? She, it looks like in her letter she asked for 3 minutes. No? Okay. Any other input? Okay. seeing no other input for this case, I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up for board member discussion. And because Mr. Clunin is brand new, we're going to start it out with Mr. Batla and let him show Mr. Clunin how it's done.
Okay, I read that, about, whole array of solar panel, as you mentioned, 850 kW and net zero, and it's provide power to all building. And that's a way, the whole world is going towards clean energy, carbon footprint, net zero. So from that perspective, there's no second opinion. It's a good thing to do. And as far as that hiding, gentleman has concern, this is 400 feet deep from Research Boulevard, and you have already trees, and leaves fall off, then they come back. And if you have to put more tree, that would be good idea. Fence does not hide anything. A 6-foot fence is still, you have diamond shape and visible. That has no merit whatsoever. But I would say that one. And in worst situation could be mound maybe. I don't know. It's a requirement. But solar panel is not any kind of a strange animal. It's everywhere. Everybody sees that and approves it. So I have no problem as far as location, front, and depth-wise, and it's a good thing to do. So and then of course our zoning people have no, any question. They comply, as opposed to back on the back of the building and the front of building. You have 70-acre kind of land, I think. So for my perspective, it's a good thing to do.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clunin.
Yeah, so I think I maybe have a question that Matt might be able to answer. And I think it really relates to the screening that we've talked about. I think some of it now is a little bit of an unknown, obviously because these aren't built yet, so we won't know what they're going to look like. They're going to be 8 feet tall. If the grass goes 6 feet, obviously there's a difference there. But it is far back, which is a positive. But I guess my question would be, after these are built and there's a need for additional screening, it's apparent that these are very visible. Could you briefly explain what that process might be?
Sure, and this would probably help the board. And in that section D, for ground-mounted solar panels, the code requires that that the panels and such be fully screened from adjacent properties by fencing or combination of evergreen and deciduous plantings. So, it doesn't necessarily even need to be a condition because the code requires the screening. So, at some point, if we, see that there's a gap or something where maybe they need to add a tree or two or something, we can work with the applicant on that because the code does require that screening. So, that would be something that we would work with the applicant moving forward if that was necessary, because it is required by the code. So
I think that answered that. I appreciate it. And then I guess I had a question for the applicant, but I think I forgot what it was now. So
and to clarify, the maximum height for the solar panels is 8 feet. So the max height is 8 feet, and they are required to screen it. So
okay, actually,
Okay, don't sit down yet because
I remember what it was.
oh, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
For the applicant, just a
Always 2
question.
seconds, by the way.
Oh gosh.
Go ahead.
Just curious on the timeline. If you're granted approval, how long are these going to take to go up, and when does that likely happen?
Yeah, thank you. Our hope, and we've been working on this for quite a while, we were actually hoping to get this in by the end of the calendar year. Now, of course, with the IRA coming out, we as a nonprofit can actually take advantage of the 30% tax credit as a direct pay, which is great. But that means that we don't turn them on until 2023. As far as I asked our vendor today actually about that timeline. Like he said, there's a chance that we could have it done by the beginning of January, to turn it on, but it's all dependent on supply chains. But we're hoping within that time frame of, say, beginning of January, maybe a few months later, depending on supply chain. So that's our hope. Definitely by next summer, we would hope to be fully done, but it's all going to depend on permitting, as you know, through the building department can take a while and things like that. So there's a lot of, it depends, but we're trying to move it as quickly as possible.
Okay, great, thank you. Now I'm done.
Okay. Okay, so, Matt, why don't you come on back up a second? I want to talk about the screening a little bit further. I know that you said the code requires either, excuse me, either man-made or a combination of deciduous and evergreens. But I think that, I think we do need a condition, and that is to say that if the deciduous trees that are there don't provide enough screening in, the winter months, right, that evergreen plantings need to be, excuse me, need to be added, because right now the screening is fine, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it appears to be, yeah. I mean, we'll
Right.
know, it appears that, the screening as it stands today would be adequate, but if there was deficiencies in the screening, obviously we would work with the applicant, even, the requirement is not fully screened in the summer, not in the winter. It is, they're to be screened, so.
Right,
If there was
right.
deficiencies in that screening, then we would certainly work with the applicant to ensure that they're meeting the code requirements,
Okay. Okay, I think that's.
regardless to the time of year.
Right. Before you sit down, help me understand if there is a significant difference between the way front yards are handled in an A1 versus an R1 property.
No, the definition would be the same. So basically, the front yard is considered that yard that it goes from the front property line. So say along County Line Research, it would be this line right here, from the front property line to the minimum distances to the structures. So from here, it would be, the front yard would be from here to here. So when you move up to here, it would be from this point to this point on that building. So we kind of roughly drew in, where and so it would be the same from Shakertown. So it would be, the front yard would be from the front property line to the building. So, that would be this area in here. So that's how we made, determination that this was all the front yard out here.
Okay,
So-
but there aren't any other exceptions for front yard usage because it's A1?
Not necessarily because the code says that, solar panels are only allowed in the side and rear yard. So it doesn't necessarily break out the differentiations between different zoning districts.
Okay. Okay, thanks. For the applicant, so I think I'm going to ask that we add a condition for additional screening if needed to be assessed after, some period of time when the deciduous trees have lost their leaves. Any concerns about that? I mean,
Yeah, I think that's fair, because I know that the screening is supposed to be there for a reason,
Right.
and I do think it may not be an issue, because they're so far back that by the time you're at the road from how far those are, any vegetation that's 6 feet up where you are could easily, but
Sure.
like you said, it would, I guess, would.
I think my primary concern would be just along Research Boulevard, right? The one that's closest to the array.
Oh, okay, the western side of the
Yeah.
map.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that okay with you?
I would feel
Sure.
comfortable if it's a condition that if they need side, maybe the side, I don't know how the,
Shakertown.
that's fine with me, that's great.
Okay, you think Shakertown too?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would think so.
Okay, seconds?
Yeah, I agree, Mr. Chairman, that, of course, as you mentioned, Matt, that it's built in the code that it has to be hidden. But it's a good idea to reinforce in writing that when it's installed, then that city of Beavercreek zoning folks have to visit the site and make sure it complies the code. And that's all. And that would be on either side, not only county line, but on the Shakertown also. That kind of view, it should be obstructed, It should be not much visible from the roadside. So that means in terms of trees or whatever, or mound, whatever, yeah. That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
I have no further comments.
Okay. All right. So I'm wording the condition to be added to assess the need for additional evergreen screening along research and Shakertown. Do I need to specify in coordinating with that with you in the condition, or is that a given?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a given. I mean, it's required in the code already, so, I mean, that's something that staff would do. We would assess that anyway, so.
Okay, so actually, the condition is probably going to be for you, right, to assess this at a future point in time.
Right, yeah, our staff would
Okay,
assess that.
and then to install evergreen screening as required.
Yep.
Okay. Melissa, did you get that by any chance? Okay. All right. I think I will entertain a motion for approval or disapproval of this variance.
I move the motion to approve the location as applicant has asked for,
Okay? With one condition, right?
with condition of hiding with evergreen trees or mound or whatever it takes to do that.
Okay. We have a motion to approve.
I second.
Okay, and we have a second. Ms. Gillo, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Coonan?
Aye.
Mr. Butler?
I
Mr. Archibald?
Aye. All right, so congratulations. We have approved your variance request, and hopefully we've, taken into consideration your concerns, and we'll have a good result. So, all right. Hearing nothing else for the good of the order, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this fine meeting.
move the motion to adjourn.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned.